So Mike Gesicki needs 3 more receiving yards to hit $125,000. Yeah, he's going to hit it. He's 100% going to hit it this upcoming game. And it sucks, too, because he could have hit it last game. If we go over to his stats, he had 10 receptions last week for 86 yards and no touchdowns. He's only scored 2 touchdowns for the season, which was back in the Raiders game in November 3rd. Outside of that, he hasn't scored a touchdown. He did score a touchdown week 1, but referees botched that and then came out and apologized for it. Shout out to that fact. But so far this season, every single game except for, 1, 2, 3? 3 games he's hit over 3 yards receiving. He had 1 reception, -9 yards versus the Panthers. But every game but 3, he's had over 3 yards receiving. So he should be able to hit it now that Joe knows that, he needs to hit this goal. I'm sure the first target of the game is going to be straight to him. Just get it over with right away in case of injury or in case of any problems. But shout out to Mike Gesicki, first off, because when you got Chase on one side and T on the other side, and I know T hasn't played the whole entire season so far, but when you got those 2 guys on either side of you, to put up 600 yards and 3 touchdowns, I don't care if it says 2. He scored in the first week. The refs already admitted they made a mistake. 3 touchdowns, that's some crazy stuff. That's some crazy numbers to put up right there. Especially, again, with how this season has gone. To put up 600 yards with 2 number 1s on either side of you. Shout out to Mike Gesicki for being an absolute animal this season. And having more yards than, last year or the year before that. He has the most yards since 2021 for his career. Obviously, touchdowns, he had 5 with Miami in 2022. But I'm just beyond happy for him, really. 86 yards last week, 10 receptions, 2 receptions, 14 yards. And he's been I would say, as consistent. He's been as consistent as possible, given the fact that he's a tight end on our roster. If he was on any other roster, I'd be like, kind of very inconsistent. But for us, we like to use our tight ends to block, not really vertical threat tight ends. So for that circumstance, he's actually been pretty damn good. I actually do want to see this real fast, because I haven't looked at his numbers in a bit. Jermaine Burton. Yeah, he hasn't caught a ball since November 17th. Lordy. Remember when Jermaine Burton was like gonna be that guy? And that has not worked out. How about Andre Yoshevich? Yoshi had 3 receptions, 59 yards last week. 467 yards and 6 touchdowns. I mean, it's a lot better than his freshman year. And obviously having T definitely does not help his production because he's an outside receiver. But still 6 touchdowns on the season. I mean, given the circumstances, Yoshi's actually having a pretty decent season. I know he's not putting up like record-setting numbers, but he's having a pretty good season for the circumstances given. How about, I don't think, does he have a reception, Charlie Jones? I don't think, and I'm butchering, when I'm typing their names, I'm butchering how you spell their names. I don't know why I'm butchering it so bad. He has 1 catch for 5 yards versus the Patriots. Okay, so he does not have a single catch outside of that. Which for a 4th-round draft pick from Purdue is really bad. But obviously he is a kick and punt returner, has dealt with injuries. Man, it's like outside of T and Chase, our depth chart for a receiver is a nothing burger. And it's kind of concerning, but not as much. Like, it's concerning that, again, we're not putting up these, we don't have a true number 3 or number 4 receiver. Obviously, Yoshi would be that number 3. But even that, I mean, it's a mess. But also, how we run our offense is we don't utilize more than 2 receivers. We go out there with 2 receivers out there, 2 tight ends as blockers, and that's how we run our offense. So, If we're going to run an offense with only 2 players and T and Chase will play all the time that they can, then it kind of takes away from everybody else. But I like Yoshi, and I think Yoshi will continue to develop into a better receiver, and he'll continue to develop into a number 2 receiver. But right now, he's like a solid high-end number 3, and I think that's a pretty decent option. It's just outside of that, our depth is awful. Like Jermaine Burton, I guess we're just not going to see what we have in him. Chuck Sizzle's always injured. And then Isaiah Williams, he's been somewhat utilized as of late. I don't think he has like a reception in any capacity so far this year, but he's been somewhat utilized. Okay, let's see. Tennessee game, he had 3 targets, 2 receptions for 4 yards. Not 4 yards, for 6 yards. So he has a total of 6 yards receiving this year so far. I mean, yeah. It's not the greatest. It really isn't, but I guess that's the thing. Shout out to him. Yeah, we really need another receiver, I feel like. I feel like we need like a solid rotational guy in case of injury, because you never know with injuries. But, hey, rock and roll, baby. Rock and roll.